In 2019, the FBI released a 4-decade-old dossier detailing a scientific investigation into an anomalous creature. The subject was Bigfoot. The release of these documents moved a regional legend out of the woods and into the official records of the federal government. The investigation began in 1976 when Peter Byrne, a prominent researcher, sent the Bureau 15 hairs attached to a small fragment of skin. He hoped the government's labs could identify a species his own organization could not. Assistant Director J. Cochran Jr. responded by making a rare exception to the Bureau's standard protocol. Though the FBI usually only handles evidence related to criminal activity, Cochran agreed to examine the samples for the sake of scientific inquiry. This creates a curious historical puzzle. To understand why a federal agency would commit resources to a monster myth, we have to look at the specific environment that forced their hand. In the 1970s, the global archetype of the ape man became a national obsession. The Pacific Northwest Sasquatch evolved from a local curiosity into a fixture of the American consciousness. This craze was built on two specific foundations: a trail of oversized footprints discovered in 1958 and the grainy Patterson-Gimlin film from 1967. By the mid-70s, pop culture had accelerated the myth. Bigfoot was appearing on major television programs like The $6 Million Man, moving the creature from fringe folklore into the mainstream media. The FBI's involvement was a response to this noise. When a cultural phenomenon reaches this level of saturation, it creates a pressure that eventually requires a response from national institutions. If these samples arrived at a lab today, technicians would sequence the animal's genome. They would extract nuclear or mitochondrial DNA to provide a definitive genetic match. But in 1976, investigators lacked those tools. They had to rely on morphological hair analysis. In this microscopic view, morphological analysis examines the strand's physical structure. Analysts look at the internal core and pigmentation to determine the species. In 1977, the FBI returned its verdict. The hairs were of deer family origin. The rigorous application of the scientific method replaced the image of a forest monster with the reality of common wildlife. The fact that the FBI agreed to the test is often used to suggest they took the existence of the creature seriously. However, examining a sample is not an endorsement of the myth. This is similar to the military's tracking of unexplained aerial phenomena. Monitoring an anomaly in the sky is a standard procedural response to the unknown, not a confirmation of its origin. The Bureau was performing a courtesy for a citizen researcher, providing a scientific service that helped resolve a persistent public inquiry. Within the world of folklore, these administrative details are frequently lost. The technical reason for the investigation is often less memorable than the sheer fact that the investigation occurred. This gap in perception was highlighted in 2019. When the file was finally declassified, Peter Byrne, then 93 years old, publicly reacted as if the deer hair conclusion was new information he had never received. When an individual's career is defined by the search for an unknown species, there is a powerful incentive to overlook data that points toward a mundane explanation. For some, the existence of a declassified folder is more important than the analysis inside. They point to the FBI's letterhead and official signatures as proof that the subject must be significant, regardless of what the forensics actually showed. In this environment, the mystery is more durable than the data. Science provides a conclusion, but the myth provides a deep sense of wonder that many are entirely unwilling to abandon. This file reflects a recurring pattern in how we interact with our legends. There is a persistent desire to see our shared myths acknowledged by the agencies we trust to manage our reality. When folklore is amplified by consistent media coverage, it creates a cultural momentum that eventually commands the attention of official authorities. The Bigfoot file does not describe a biological discovery. Instead, it documents a moment when a common forest animal became a subject of federal correspondence. It remains a physical record of the 1970s media environment. The tuft of deer hair sits in a federal vault because, for a brief window of time, a television craze and a collection of stories were powerful enough to move the machinery of the FBI.